There was a meeting we held at Chungwa House, which is a party headquarters, prior to the first central committee that he chaired. And I remember we sat there as two men in Raila's office, you know, the party leader's office. And I told Oburu, you know, you have publicly called for my removal.
Edwin Sifuna has just revealed something that nobody knew. That after Raila Odinga died, he was ready to quit ODM. He even offered Oburu the chance to pick a new Secretary General during that time.
Yeah. Now, when Oburu was appointed as a party leader, you know, I was not there. I had gone to India, Mumbai. We were on that flight that brought Baba back home. And after the burial and, you know, there was a meeting we held at Chungwa House, which is a party headquarters, prior to the first central committee that he chaired. And I remember we sat there as two men in Raila's office, you know, the party leader's office. And I told Oburu, you know, you have publicly called for my removal. There was an incident after the meeting in Kakamega. There was this stormy meeting in Kakamega, which, you know, Oburu tells a different version. Because when I went to Kakamega, I was actually the target of a heckling. They had planned that there'd be people saying certain things there and I'd be heckled in front of my party leader and so on and so forth. But it backfired. But to hear Oburu tell the story, he says that I arranged for those people to be there to say that they love Sifuna. Mind you, you know, I was born in Kakamega. I grew up in Kakamega. I went to school in Kakamega. My wife is from Kakamega. My mother is from Kakamega. Those are my people. I don't need to arrange anything in Kakamega. So after the Kakamega meeting, Oburu was speaking somewhere, I think in Siaya, in a church or something. I said, oh, you know, this Sifuna is such a small person. If we wanted today, we would kick him out. Right. So that is the context in which we are having this conversation at Chungwa House. And I tell him, Senior, you know, I have a lot of respect for you. You have publicly expressed opinions that suggest that you're not very comfortable with me being in this position. And I told him that the relationship between the party leader and the Secretary General is so intimate that if there are any tensions between us, probably it won't work. Right. And I want to know from you today, do you still hold those feelings? And Oburu says, no, you know, first of all, I was upset with what happened in Kakamega. I thought that the people who spoke were a bit disrespectful to Raila. They were not my people. I'm not the one who told them to say those things, you know. And he says, I didn't plan to be party leader. I have found myself in this situation because of circumstance. Nobody would have predicted the death of Raila. But we need each other to be able to go through this difficult period to transition the party and let bygones be bygones. And we shake hands. You did? Because I told him, if you still feel that way, I will give you my letter of resignation today. Okay. Yeah, because...
Speaking on a local television on Thursday, April 30th, 2026, Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna opened up about something that had never been publicly said before. That after the death of Raila Odinga, Sifuna says he walked into ODM headquarters at Chungwa House in Nairobi and met Oburu Odinga and gave him a direct offer. He was willing to write a resignation letter. He was prepared to step aside and let Oburu choose a new Secretary General from scratch. Someone Oburu was comfortable working with. The reason was simple. Sifuna says the relationship between a party leader and a Secretary General is intimate. It has to be built on trust. If there were unresolved tension between the two of them, the party would suffer for it. That offer, quietly made, never publicly shown until now. Things change how this entire story looks. So what happened when Sifuna made that offer? According to what Sifuna said, Oburu turned it down. The ODM party leader told Sifuna he had not organized how the party structure will work. He was not ready to be given someone who may never or may not understand how the party operates. So the best person was to keep Edwin Sifuna as still the SG of ODM. And according to Sifuna, he quietly accepted and he had that assurance. He stayed. But here is the problem. If Oburu genuinely wanted Sifuna to stay, why isn't Sifuna now facing disciplinary proceedings? Why is there a notice to show cause? Why is the party trying to remove him through a tribunal process? That's the question hanging in this entire story. Now, Sifuna's position in all of this is important to understand clearly. The Nairobi senator is not saying he wants to hold on to the Secretary General seat at all costs. Sifuna was very clear about that in the interview. The biggest interest, he said, is not for him personally to remain the SG. The biggest interest is for ODM to progress and survive as a party. What Sifuna is fighting is the process being used against him. His argument is that ODM leadership must operate within the party owns constitution and internal rules. And in his view, the way the establishment has handled this dispute violates those rules. Sifuna also drew a very pointed distinction between how Raila Odinga led ODM and how Oburu is leading it now. Raila, he said, was consultative, the style of leadership that ODM members and supporters were used to under Raila involved bringing people together, not pushing them out. The comparison, spoken carefully but clearly, is the sharpest thing Sifuna has said yet. To understand how things went from that private conversation at Chungwa House to a full-blown legal battle, you need to know the sequence of events. After Raila Odinga's death, tension inside ODM did not settle. They even got worse. The party issued a resolution on February 11th, 2026 that Sifuna and his team challenged. Sifuna then converged what ODM is calling a parallel and rival national conference. Remember that one that happened at Mfangana House. That a move the party says crosses a clear line. ODM took that as a ground to open disciplinary proceedings against the Nairobi senator. Sifuna went to the political parties dispute tribunal in early April, seeking to stop those proceedings. The tribunal had earlier issued a ruling protecting Sifuna from being removed, but ODM have argued that by conveying that parallel conference after the tribunal's ruling, Sifuna had undermined the very process he was asking to protect him. The party told the tribunal directly that the complainant, who is now Sifuna, conveyed a viral or a rival conference after their ruling. That conduct is at the heart of the disciplinary concern. So what this interview revealed is that the ODM crisis did not start with rallies or faction or public statement. It started in a private room at Chungwa House with an offer that was accepted but never fulfilled or fully honored. Sifuna gave Oburu a way out. Oburu said, stay. And then the same establishment that asked Sifuna to stay began the process of pushing him out. That sequence of events, the private offer, public assurance, then disciplinary action, is what has made Sifuna's supporters so angry. And it is what has given the Linda Mwananchi faction the moral argument that is helping them win supporters on the ground when they go for those rallies.